Welcome to the July meeting of the Farmville Board of Commissioners. We do this because of so many things going on in July, and it's become quite a tradition over the years. And I'll take this opportunity to invite each and every one of you back to Farmville Monday night for our fireworks on July the 3rd. We do that to celebrate Commissioner Dixon's birthday on July the 4th. For those of you that are here for the very first time, those having business with the town will be heard. Two opportunities. One at the beginning of the meeting with citizen comments. You'll have 3 minutes when you approach the podium. We ask that you give your name so that we can record it in case we have to come back and ask you something. The town board will ask no questions or make any comments during that. At the end of our meeting, there is an opportunity for you to speak also. If you've got an agenda, it's a citizen presentation where if you have a question about anything that you've seen or heard during that time, you do not have to sign up for that. I'll give you an opportunity to come and speak with that. Again, welcome to the Farmville Town Board. Good to see some folks that we've talked to on the phone many times. Cliff, glad to have you in our house, sir. Glad you're here. With that being said, we'll now stand if you choose to, and I'm going to ask Paul Ellis to deliver our invocation, and after that, I'll lead us in the pledge.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we come to you giving thanks for all the blessings you have given each of us. We thank you for this day. We thank you for the opportunity to live in our fine town. But most of all, we thank you for sending your Son so that we may have everlasting life. Bless those that are sick and suffering, those that have lost friends and family. We ask you to We ask that each word spoken and action taken be pleasing in your sight. It is in your Son's name.
Amen. You face the flag. Have your seats and we'll get started. Anybody that's in the witness protection program might be a good time to leave because Channel 7 is with us tonight, and that's always a good thing. They're here covering a really big story that has a direct effect on town of Farmville and our county, and we're excited about it. So thank you for being here. With that being said, we will go to the town manager's comments. Mr. Hodgkins.
Start with one comment from 6 p.m. at the Carter meeting. And fireworks, it's 9 o'clock. They have hot dogs, chips, drinks, sold by Farmville Coast Guard. And then one other item. Speaking of music, had the contact with Pride Voice Saxophone Ensemble. It's a group that does various types of music, saxophone. They want to do a free concert. And they travel around 15 million in this three records.
Thank you, sir. Anybody have any questions of the town manager? Seeing none, you have the financial report in your packet. Anybody have any questions of Amy? Anybody? Seeing none, that'll bring us down to changes, additions, and deletions of the agenda. Board, is anything you'd like to change, add to, or take away? If seeing none, I'll entertain a motion that we accept the agenda as presented.
I will make a motion that we accept the agenda as presented.
Commissioner Smith has made a motion that we accept the agenda. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The agenda will be followed as presented.
Were there any citizens' presentations? I don't see that on the agenda.
I got one, and it's not on my agenda, so I was assuming it was going to be last tonight. I've got it listed very last.
Could have been
You want to hold it to last, or you want to, I'm on such a roll here. I'll tell you what, let's do. Let's save it to the end since it was, and make it, we'll keep going like we're going since this has already been accepted. And it is the it is at the end of the agenda, and it is listed as citizen presentation, so we would cover that and be safe. Is that agreeable with you? You okay with that?
If that's agreeable to the presenter, then I think that's fine. Not making someone.
AC, can you hang on to the very end for your presentation? Thank you, ma'am. You're very kind. All right, that brings us to the proclamation for Parks and Recreation Month in Farmville. And Diane, if you'll come forward, I am going to read this and make you feel real uncomfortable while you stand there. It is a proclamation designating the month of July as Parks and Recreation Month. Whereas Parks and Recreation is an integral part of the communities throughout this county, including Farmville and North Carolina, and whereas Parks and Recreation promotes health, wellness, and improving the physical and mental health of people who live near parks, and whereas the Parks and Recreation promotes time spent in nature, which positively has an impact on mental health by increasing performance and well-being. It helps with illnesses such as depression, attention deficit disorder, and Alzheimer's. And whereas the Parks and Recreation encourages physical activities, providing space for popular sports like hiking trails, swimming pools, and many other activities designed to promote active lifestyle. And whereas Parks and Recreation is the leading provider of healthy meals, nutrition, service, and education, and whereas Parks and Recreation programming and education activities such as out-of-school time programming, sports programming, environmental education are critical to the childhood and development, and whereas the Parks and Recreation increases the community's economic prosperity through increased property values, expansion of local tax base, increased tourism, and the attraction and retention of business and crime reduction, and whereas Parks and Recreation is fundamental to the environmental well-being of our community, and whereas the Parks and Recreation is essential to adaptable infrastructure and makes our communities resilient in the face of natural disasters and climate change, and whereas our parks and natural recreation areas ensure the ecological beauty of our community and provide a place for children and adults to connect with nature and recreate outdoors. And whereas the U.S. House of Representatives has designated July as Parks and Recreation Month, and Farmville, North Carolina recognizes the benefits derived from parks and recreation sources. Now, therefore, I, John O. Moore, Mayor of Farmville, North Carolina, do hereby proclaim the month of July is Park and Recreation Month in the town of Farmville, North Carolina, on this date, June 2023. Diane, on behalf of this board and the town of Farmville, you have done an incredible job, and that's the easiest proclamation I've ever done. Y'all give a big hand. Nicole, I want you to bring your whole platoon up here. If you missed our last meeting, Nicole has embarked on an incredible mission for our schools. And as you know, our schools are our largest employer. And our schools, with about 50% of our students, come from outside the 27828. And our schools are the driving force behind Farmville. We have built this town around our schools. So what I'm about to do now is we are going to endorse the project that you're taking on, and it'll be explained in this letter. And once I finish it, I'm going to pass it over to Mayor Pro Tem David Shackford and ask him to present it to you, okay? And it reads, Pitt County Board of Education, dear board members, as you know, school safety has always been a primary concern of the boards of education, school system administrative staff, school teachers, and other staff, and the parents as long as schools have been in existence. However, school safety has taken on added significance in the recent spikes in violence in our school campuses. The 4 public schools in Farmville are uniquely located on one campus, which can make them an attractive target for violent acts. The unified campus configuration is a source of civic pride for our community leaders and citizens, yet they can necessitate added security measures to protect our most precious and vulnerable population, our children. Members of Sug Bundy Safety Initiative, led by Sug Bundy Parent Nicole Warren has researched the vulnerabilities of Sug Bundy and other schools and acquired cost estimates on improving security measures through the added special bullet-resistant film to be existing on our school windows that, once applied, could slow down any attempt to gain access to the school building and allow more time for emergency personnel to respond to any attempted breach. The Farmville Mayor, the Board of Commissioners wholeheartedly support the efforts of the Sam D. Bundy Safety Initiative to improve the school safety measures at Farmville School and urge the Pitt County Board of Education to support these efforts by implementing reasonable, cost-efficient solutions to enhance the school safety at Sam D. Bundy School and beyond. This is signed by every board member and the Chief of Police. And Nicole, I'm going to ask Commissioner Shackelford to walk around and present that to you as I make just a couple of comments. What Nicole is doing is a huge undertaking. The citizens of Farmville will be receiving a letter. There will be a fund drive. We are attempting to support her, and we'll just walk around and present it to her. And we are attempting to support her in this effort to raise the money to do this at no cost to the taxpayers, as she has stepped up to volunteer to help us support our young people. A big round of applause for Nicole.
David.
Nicole, I'm going to give you about 30 seconds. Say anything you want to.
I want to thank everybody for the initiative thus far. We still have a long way to go. The goal is to be able to do this at all the schools in Farmville and to generate interest at other schools in our community. So thank everybody that's already donated. If you haven't received a letter and you would like interest, just come to me. I'm glad to talk to you about it. I'm glad to talk to you about what this initiative is.
Thank you, Nicole. Thank you for your family to be here and support. The next item on our agenda is a public hearing. Paul, I think you've got this. Is this you or is this David? David? Yes, sir.
As Mayor said, this is a public hearing. There's a rezoning before you tonight. Let's see, okay. So this is a request by Pitt Community College Board of Trustees to rezone a piece of property that is currently owned by Alliance One LLC. It's located on the south or northwest corner of the intersection of South Field Street and West Marlboro Road. The request is to rezone the property from Highway Business District and Industrial District to Office and Institutional District. This matter has gone through the Planning Board. The Planning Board did recommend unanimously that it be rezoned as requested. Just some staff observations that are in your packet. The subject property is bordered on the south by land across West Marlboro Road that is vacant land in the Farmville Corporate Park that is currently zoned Highway Business District and is occupied by, there's some land that's also occupied by the auto store, which is also zoned Highway Business. The property is bordered on the east by land across South Field Street that's occupied by the break room zoned Highway Business. The property is bordered on the west by land occupied by Alliance One manufacturing facility, which is zoned Industrial District, and it is bordered on the north by vacant land that is zoned Residential Agricultural or R20 District. The current property, the property in question, houses two buildings that have been utilized by Alliance One for office and storage space. All permitted uses in the office and institutional district are compatible with existing on-site and adjacent land uses. And the applicant has indicated that some intended uses include a business incubator, a small business center, job training facilities, a small conference center, and spaces for technical training and basic skills training. However, I must note that once rezoned, the owner may utilize the property for any use permitted in the office and institutional zoning district. The proposed request is consistent with the town's adopted comprehensive land use plan, which indicates that this area is suitable for employment mixed use. These areas are typically located along major thoroughfares and include prime locations for economic development opportunities. Uses encouraging the employment mixed-use areas include industrial, warehouse, office, research and development, tech flex, medical, energy, and distribution. As I said, the recommendation from the planning board is to rezone as requested. As the staff also recommends approval in as far as the legalistics, the consistency statement, the character of the area is a mix of industrial, business, and office uses that typically populate parcels adjacent to thoroughfares. The proposed amendment is consistent with the existing and anticipated uses in the immediate area of the subject property. The proposed amendment is reasonable and in the public interest in that all uses permitted in the proposed zoning classification are compatible with all existing uses in the area and would not adversely affect the one or the use and enjoyment of other properties in the area. The uses permitted in the O&I zoning district are less intensive than those permitted on adjacent parcels with current zoning. And it's also, as I mentioned, consistent with the town's adopted land use plan. So at this point, the board needs to have a public hearing to get citizen input. Be glad to answer any questions at this point, or the board can go into a public hearing.
Any questions before I open this to a public hearing? Thank you, David. This is a public hearing. Anyone that would like to speak to the Highway Business District and the Industrial District Office and the rezoning of this, anyone wishing to speak, feel free. I just ask that you give your name and feel free to come up and speak on this issue.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. My name is Drake Brinkley. I'm a land use attorney with Ward & Smith here in the Greenville office. Here on this evening on behalf of Pitt Community College, here with me this evening is Dr. Rouse, and behind me here, the president of the college. He's going to speak to you briefly about the college's vision at this property so that everybody will have a good idea as to what their plans are. So I'm going to make my piece of this is going to be brief. I think he's got a much better discussion than I can give you, and I know you want to hear it from him. David did a good job, as he always does, kind of summarizing this. And so it is one tax parcel now that we're seeking to rezone. It was just recombined recently. So originally, if you step back a number of weeks, the project was one tax parcel in its entirety and then a portion of a second tax parcel. We have since brought that portion into this other parcel. It's been, the seller has recombined that for us, Alliance One has. And so now it is one tax parcel, 7.64 acres, parcel 89883. So we do have split zoning right now because of that, because before the recombination, one of the tax parcel that is in its entirety was one zoning district, and then the other tax parcel is another. So we do have a split zoning thing right now, but that'll be alleviated hopefully tonight through this hearing. The rezoning is necessary, frankly, for the use of the property for the community college. We have to get this rezoned to the district so that we can do everything that the college wants to do here. The request is consistent with the surrounding area and the surrounding zoning areas, and the proposed use, as David mentioned, is consistent with the surrounding existing uses in the area as well. It's also consistent, the proposed use, with the future land use analysis. The town's recently updated future land use plan designates both parcels for employment, is what it says in the plan. The plan also notes in its urban suitability map that this area is designated for medium to high development suitability. The employment future land use classification are for parcels and areas located along major thoroughfares, as David, I believe, mentioned, and includes prime locations for economic development opportunities. And the uses that are encouraged include but are limited to industrial, warehouse, office, research, development, tech flex, medical. There's a laundry list of these things. And so here, this designation supports our proposed use. As you'll hear in a minute, PCC will utilize this property in many ways, including advancing educational and research opportunities here in Farmville. So we've worked diligently with staff, Mr. Paul Ellis specifically, to get where we are today. We had extensive conversations with him about which zoning district we ought to look at here, and staff worked with us and believed this was the proper target zoning district for this use. And so I'd like to ask Dr. Rouse to come up and speak with you folks about kind of what the vision is for PCC.
This is an open hearing, and that is fine. All comments will be directly related to parcel 89883, so you're on track. That'll be fine. Thank you, sir. Dr. Rouse, welcome.
Thank you. It's an honor to come before the commission tonight. As you know, Pitt Community College is no stranger to Farmville. We already have a small center here. But what will happen if we're allowed to have this center and have it rezoned, we will be able to expand our services here in Farmville, but not only Farmville, but surrounding communities. As you've heard, we're looking at having this kind of as an applied technology center, which means that we're going to work with business and industry, customized industrial training for those companies that are already here, those that are in Pitt County. Also, any industry that wants to relocate to the Pitt County or general area, we will provide training for them. We're also looking at a small business center. The idea there is to have support for any small businesses that might exist, and also to have a business incubator, which means that we can start and help businesses. Individuals may have an idea of what they want to do, but we'll have an incubator to help them to grow, and we hope that those small businesses will then reside here in Farmville. We're also looking at enough space there to do a small conference center, so if you want to have meetings and things of that nature, even a short conference, it can be held there. Particularly technical training, we're looking at all different types of training that we can offer, short-term workforce training. Basic skills for those individuals in the community who may not have completed high school and need some training in their basic skills, and possibly even offering a high school diploma for them as well. And we're just looking at different things that would certainly benefit the community and benefit Pitt County, but also to help to attract business and industry into this area as well. We count it as a plus if we're able to do this. It allows Pitt Community College, we're the most crowded college in the community college system at this point, so this will give us additional space in order to do things that we think we can do here. So I do appreciate you considering this, and thank you for allowing me to just have a moment to talk about some of the things that we would do here at this center. Thank you.
Thank you. Hang on, there may be some questions in a few minutes. Yes, sir?
Any questions for Dr. Rouse?
Well, I'm going to ask the board if there are any questions, since you're both here at the same time. Board, do you have any questions at this point? I'll start with Dr. Hobbs.
Well, I certainly appreciate your vision, and we look forward to anything that you do involved.
Thank you.
No questions.
Mr. Shack?
So fortunate to have them in our community, and we're happy about this, and we know things will begin to, go again.
Commissioner Smith?
I got one question. My wife always says I'm hard of hearing, and I did get the fact that you were with Ward and Smith, and it was Drake. What was the last name?
Brinkley?
Brinkley.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you very much.
No problem.
No, we're very pleased and excited about both of you all being here. It's just wonderful news, and we hope that you all will be very successful here, and look forward to working for years and years to come with you all. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
We'll continue with the public hearing. Thank you. If you fellows will hang around just a minute, certainly would appreciate it. This is a public hearing. Anyone else wishing to speak? AC, come on down.
I would like to speak in support of making that assembly will be larger. There'll be more classes that'll be available that were not available in the small center that they're in now. Hopefully there will be classes in trade skills. And I think it's a really good idea to have that mini campus there. And I think it will make it much easier for Farmville residents, students to be able to participate in Pitt Community College activities, classes, and make it take away the barrier of transportation. And I think it's excellent.
Thank you.
And I support it.
Thank you very much. Anyone else wishing to speak during this public hearing? Anyone else? Anyone else? Seeing none, I will declare this public hearing closed. I'll now open it up for questions, comments, and motions from the board. Board? Questions, comments, or motions?
I would like to make a motion that we rezone parcel 89883 from Highway Business District and Industrial District to Office and Institutional District, as stated in the agenda.
Board, you've heard the motion by Commissioner Smith. Any questions or comments? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Congratulations. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you. Certainly appreciate it. Thank you, thank you. And Dr. Rouse, I couldn't let you get out of here without thanking you so much for what you're doing at Pitt Community College. And Randy, with the Board of Trustees, thank you for what you're doing. And Cliff, it's finally a pleasure to meet you, sir. Thank you so much. And thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. All right. Thank y'all. Thank you so much. That'll bring us down to our items for consent. Board, you've had a chance to look at the minutes, the ordinance, and the property surplus that are in the items of consent. Any questions, or is there a motion to accept?
I move that we accept the items for consent.
Dr. Hobbs has made a motion that we accept the items for consent. Any questions? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. That brings us down to items for discussion. Request from GFL to change yard waste collection from Wednesday to Friday. David, you got this?
I'll just introduce it. You may be aware that over the last several months, there's been some issues with yard waste collection. Trucks breaking down. Collection that's supposed to happen on Wednesdays, one week, it's like Saturday. And it's creating some concern. Service. So Wes Thomas and I had a meeting, talked about some possibilities. And the problem is that the kids that are utilized for garbage and recycling are able to be collected or picked up by the farm on their by many of the yard waste cans that hold, especially the short, like the short fat ones that are brown, that have been around a long time, cannot be collected using the arm. And so the folks that are driving the trucks have to get out, hook it up to the back of the truck, and can't be very labor intensive. But also, as I understand, they don't have to deal with the trucks. Like one goes down, certain days they don't have to happen. So one solution, everybody out to the newer cans, most of them probably over half of our folks have the newer style, tall brown can. But in the meantime, on Fridays there is available backup.
Board, you got any questions?
So I'm understanding that you'd pick it up on Friday, and then if it did not happen on Friday, that somebody would be here on Saturday to do it?
That's correct, sir.
It would not sit over the weekend? Okay. And so you have a surplus truck on Friday that, what, comes from another town or something that would?
We have some backup equipment available. truck that Dave was talking about. Once we use those large vehicles.
Right.
Once we need the yard so many trucks that have timbers in the back, so cars go down. That's what we don't have a lot of, especially on Friday, we do have all that.
Okay. Just curious. Thank you very much.
Anybody else got a question? David?
One comment about that, because if the board could sense the community, talking with the other folks at the UFL, what's that thought to, they understand there may be trees in the area, so there will be something publicized to change. If the board wants to consent to this,
Anybody that's got a question for David? If not, I'll entertain a motion, and in the motion, I would like for it to include a start date. I need a motion.
Given that, I will make a motion that we accept the proposal from GFL to change the collection date from Wednesdays to Fridays going forward, and for that to begin on, is actually August 1 sufficient, or do we need to go to September 1? July 31st would be the end of.
July 31st is Monday. So we start on August 4th? August 4th will be the go date, Bert.
Commencing on August the 4th then, the pickup.
Amy, did you get all that? Okay. Board, you've heard the motion that the request for yard waste collection be moved from Wednesday to Friday. First day of action will be August the 4th. You've heard the motion. Any comments? All in favor say aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. And if we have a truck issue, give us plenty of notice so we can get the word out. Yes, sir. Okay? I think that's crucial because I have a great relationship with you folks, doing an incredible job. And we just had a way to get the word out. We'll be okay. Okay? Thank you, sir. Thank you for coming over. Yes, sir. The next item we have is a resolution to support the installation of an all-way stop at May Boulevard and Corporate Way. And I believe that's a nice way of saying four-way stop. Is that right, David? That's what it is. And David, you got this? Paul, you got this? Who wants the ball?
I'll be glad.
Okay.
Okay, so many years ago, the Supreme Court passed a resolution requesting that the DOT study that intersection of the Farmville Way and consider putting new traffic. And so it was looked at, I think, early on, after there was no change, and then at the end, the back exactly sort of nuance talks about the results of the study. He did a 5-year period, 2017 to 2022, with the idea that it did not warrant a traffic signal, but short-term warrant a four-way stop, and possibly so this is requested before you. Steve Hamilton is here, transportation engineer. He's the one about this. But anyway, so this is what's proposed tonight. They're asking for the installation of the office. It is a bad
Steve, I'm going to ask you to make any comments before I open this up to the board to start asking questions back. Chief, you might want to move over because I expect you're going to be involved in this too. So, Steve, welcome to Farmville, and anything you'd like to add, sir?
My name is Steve Hamilton. I'm the Division Traffic Engineer with the North Carolina Department of Transportation. And like David said, we were asked recently to reevaluate the intersection in lieu of some crashes. And in doing so, we found there were a fair number of crashes at the intersection involving vehicles mostly trying to come out of the Food Line Shopping Center side. So we looked at 3 different options. One's the all-way stop, another one was mini roundabout, and the third one was traffic signal. In doing our evaluation, we found that the signal and the roundabout, even though the roundabout had a higher ratio than the benefit, and the traffic signal was the lowest. The all-way stop was the only one that was fundable through the money that we can get to fund this. So that's our recommendation, is to do an all-way stop. And we did evaluate what impact that might have as far as queuing on May, used to be 258 Boulevard, and none of them were really that bad. And in fact, we carried it out to 20 years in the future, and it was still operating at a reasonable level at that point too. So that's why it's the recommended candidate.
For the benefit of the board, do you have a car count at that?
I do. Yeah, I brought it along. Okay. Coming out of the Food Line, there is roughly 2,562 vehicles a day. Well, let me clarify that. Between the hours of 6 a.m. and 7 p.m.
Burton, go ahead, because I'm going to open it up for questions anyway. Go ahead.
So, just for discussion purposes, you're telling me that you could also give me those figures for those same directions, what they'll be in 20 years, or what you think they'll be?
We predicted what it would look like in 20 years,
right,
based on the growth factor for the Pitt County area.
Okay.
Roughly a 1% growth per year.
All right.
It may or may not materialize out there, or if you get a big boom of development out in the area, then it could climb faster than that. But that's pretty much average for the county.
Okay.
And the rest of Division 2 for that matter.
So if I wanted to, I could probably just expand those out 1% a year for 20 years, and I'd come to roughly what you all think.
Yeah, or multiply it by about 20%.
Right.
If
we do this, are we married to it forever?
Not forever, no.
Okay.
Things can change, but by looking at the future, we were able to say, well, it's going to be good for that many 10, 20 years. That doesn't mean it has to stay that way, but it does mean, as opposed to saying 5 years down the road it's going to fail. And do we want to do something that's only good for 5 years? No, we would rather do it. 20 years is a good lifespan.
Yeah, I don't think I'll be here when that happens. Just as a curiosity for my sake, would constitute being eligible for a stoplight or a roundabout? I mean, is it more cars?
The Federal Highway Administration has 9 criteria for evaluating whether an intersection can warrant a traffic signal, and you've got to at least meet one of those. This one probably does meet a peak hour warrant, but the problem is because of the cost of the traffic signal, the BC is so low that they won't be able to get any funding for it. And the always stop has a better crash reduction factor, so we can see more crashes reduced by putting in the always stop.
Just out of curiosity, if you know, what would the cost be to put signals there? Stop, you know,
Traffic signals about $250,000, and the mini roundabout is probably $750,000, and the always stop was $30,000. Because going along with the always stop, we're going to build some concrete islands so that we can put dual indication on the what was 258 approaches.
Is there any problem, because there's multiple lanes there, so you'll have the islands, concrete islands in the middle? I mean, because I think there's like 2 lanes coming in from the north, and all lanes will come to a stop.
That is correct.
Right.
The islands are going to be in what is currently the left turn lanes on 258 A, and then so the left turns will be made out of the through lane, so it'll be a through left lane.
All right. Just out of curiosity, is there an intersection nearby that is similar to what this will be like, so I might could ride over and look at it just to...
In this area?
Yeah, just to satisfy my curiosity.
Sure, there's one out here somewhere.
But what you're proposing is not a really uncommon thing, I mean...
No.
I mean, I see lots of four-way stops around, and I think most of them have all been beneficial, and I think this is probably what we want to do, but I'm just, you know, asking questions because I'm not a Department of Transportation engineer.
On where we put in always stops and there is multiple lanes, usually we try to restrict it down to 2 or just 1 lane on each approach.
Right.
It's easier for the motorist to negotiate it. This particular one, in addition to the left turn lanes, there are also right turn lanes off 258. And so we decided to go ahead and leave those for now and see if it works, because the right turn doesn't affect a whole lot of people as much.
So if you're turning right, would there be a stop sign, or you can just continue right without stopping?
No, that will be controlled by the stop sign. The through and the right turn lane, in theory, would operate simultaneously. On that one approach, they both would go, and then one of the next approach would end up being able to go.
So in front of Family Dollar and Speedway, that turn lane would not be affected. Coming back in town where you're turning right to go to McDonald's and Bojangles, that would not be affected. But the 2 lanes that keep you going straight.
They will become combination through left turn lanes. So
Okay.
the vehicle can make a left turn or continue straight through the intersection from that lane.
Okay. Chief.
And the island will be in what's currently marked as a left turn lane.
You want to weigh in on this?
Now look at it, there was a the photographs, and I'm not a professional on it. I do think it's going to cause some issues with insurance. But I think the whole goal of it is making a safer situation. I do think it's going to slow down others.
We looked at that specifically because we didn't want to have traffic back up into the interchange.
197 feet. And that's in 20 years.
In 20 years.
Yeah, we might be able to buy it.
Beginning, everybody did reasonably good. There's a lot of that traffic.
Question. You're talking about 15 to 20 years. And this is probably going to create another question with you. But what happens if that area develops out there even more? That's why I asked you how long would we be hung with this without the possibility of a stoplight. I mean, the problem I see is coming out of McDonald's and trying to hang a left to get back on the 4-lane. That's the biggest thing I see at 8 o'clock in the morning coming out of Bojangles. I see that as a serious situation. Can you convince me that's not?
Well, with the always stop, 1 out of every 4 cars gets to turn left. That's what they're trying to do. Each leg gets a designated chance to go. That's the advantage of the always stop. Right now, they have to wait for a gap in traffic on 258. So that's somebody with that. I think David had mentioned that there was a concern about what it would do to the shopping center side coming out. They didn't actually run that one because that wasn't the leg we were concerned about. But typically, when you put in an always stop, the legs that currently have to stop generally see less delay.
Okay.
Because they get that designated chance to turn or go.
I have a question now. Sorry.
Wait, you good?
That made me, I was one way on this, and now I have a question. Okay, so if because I think we all understand that coming out of the shopping centers can be the worst. I would anticipate that to be the worst affected area because it's so bad now. So if I'm approaching the stop sign coming out of the shopping center, Bojangles, and say to turn left, cars are going to be coming by me on my right to turn right because it's still going to be 2 lanes there. Is that what you're saying?
No, the plan is to mark that down to just 1 lane coming out of the shopping center with some markings in the median or down the middle of the road. Give more room for the vehicles turning into it.
Okay. When cars don't obey the lines, because we know it's bad now, and do whatever they do to get out of Bojangles because, well, they don't call it fast jangles. When they're turning right to come into Farmville, and somebody coming eastbound on 258 waits for that person to turn right, the person who's at the stop sign getting ready to turn left westbound on 258 thinks it's their turn because they were there. The person coming eastbound on 258 just waited for that car to turn right. They have the collision. Just for Jeffrey's sake, who's at fault there? Because the car coming eastbound into Farmville on 258 did wait for the car to turn right, but the car who turned right illegally passed the car who was waiting to turn left.
If you drive to the right of a car, you're at fault to begin with.
Okay.
Because you're breaking the law, but I would assume that
it
wouldn't have been their turn to go either, so the other vehicle would have had the right of way, so that would be their fault then too.
Okay.
I have a question.
Well, the plan is to put some markings down to delineate like an island, so to speak. And so if it turns out that that's not controlling it well enough, then we can make modifications and add a raised island.
Okay, that's good.
Did the plan consider any future developments such as a hotel, which would generate a lot of traffic, not just during the day, but at night? And if you have a game in Greenville, it could bring a lot of people to Farmville. But did you consider future development?
We didn't look at any particular singular development or area of development, but by growing the traffic out 20 years and saying, well, okay, 20 years from now, it still should be operating at a reasonable level, that gives room for growth in traffic through either development or growth of traffic using 258 for some reason. May Street, Boulevard.
And so what, to their points, you know, I mean, let's just assume everything continues along at 1% growth and so on and stuff like that. But what happens if, to Commissioner Hobbs's point, there's, you know, there's a 2 or 3 restaurants and a Marriott courtyard or something that all ends up, I mean, does the Department of Transportation come back in 5 years and reevaluate that or something? I mean, is that?
Well, at the time that development occurs, let's say somebody comes in and just wants to do a commercial development in one of the quadrants, bigger than what's there now. As part of their site development, they have to get site plan approval, and they have to get a driveway permit. And in that process, we get to evaluate, they can do traffic analysis at their expense, determine what impact their development is going to have on the roadway, what kind of improvements are needed. They may have to pay to do all that. It could be that 10 years from now, a big development comes in and does that. It's a strip center, a hotel, and a couple chain restaurants. They will have having to pay that signal. It could be zero signal, but they would pay for that. And then they have to pay for the roundabout. Like a couple developments that have to pay for the roundabout.
We have some developers that looked at, and I'm not quite sure exactly the status of the property north of the highway. Did you take into consideration any of that?
No, not particularly through that growth, the background growth of traffic. That sort of factors in anything development that may occur in the area other than something really large all at one time.
Dale Britt thing's relatively large by our standards.
I think it's supposed to be a subdivision or something like that.
We've already approved a four-way stop there, down the road where you're talking about.
Yeah.
It's already, didn't we do that? Yeah, we've already done that.
Yeah.
That's,
we
but that's,
put that in.
yeah, but that doesn't have, that's got, it's just the intersection at that Horse Point. That's just that, so that's,
I understand
that.
But I'm just wondering what that additional growth, if it does materialize, how much impact that has on this Clark County and this intersection.
It can cause it to grow, and it's possible that it would grow higher than projected rate. But again, as part of their development, we would evaluate what the effect is at that particular time on the road system. And if they need to make improvements, they would be responsible for doing that.
Chief, tell me something I'm not hearing. Something is missing here, and I'm not smart enough to grasp what it is, because I could see people at that 715 cars coming out of Speedway, coming out of, and trying to hit this where you turn right in the first part going into Speedway. I could see them coming out that way, now having to go across traffic that's backed up to make this turn. You with me?
But the four-way stop will always not what he's talking about, if it's your property line, instead of
You will? Say that again, because maybe that's what I'm not hearing.
people getting out of, I would say, the speed limit, there's like I said, there's traffic, they've got to wait for a gap in traffic.
Even from 7 to 9 in the morning and from 5 to 7 at night?
Correct. Yeah. Each leg has a designated opportunity to enter the roadway or pass through the intersection, maybe is a better way to put it. equal opportunity. That's
Okay, all right. Well, it sounds like you've done your homework. You're good with this? Well,
As long as it functions properly, it's exactly what's going to happen. Like I said, it could be an inconvenience. I think, our profession, I would tell them to slow the traffic.
tell me how long the road signs, the flashing lights that tell you what to do will be out there on that highway so that people will understand that this is a four-way stop, that
That, I don't know, that's a good question. I don't know. Something to do, y'all provide digital signage.
Yeah, we do typically about 2 weeks in advance of the planned
Okay.
change date. We will put out the advanced warning signs, variable message signs to
Okay.
say on such and such a date, traffic patterns are changing. And then when it comes to that date, we change it to read traffic pattern, change, new pattern ahead or something of that nature.
Okay. All
We'll
right.
always stop ahead, pre-prepare to stop ahead or something.
All right. Dr. Hobbs, you got anything else?
No, that's it.
Commissioner Dixon?
Yeah, I'll just say,
You know we got a heck of a parking lot. I've got a long list, but I'll address later. I'm not 100% comfortable with this, but
We better have a stoplight, but
okay. David, is there anything you want to add? Okay. Chief, you got anything you want to add?
I do have a question. Did you have a time frame? Possibly take place?
I think it probably won't be until close. Still have to get, we got to submit the funding into the committee for the improvement. It has to go to the Board of Transportation. That usually gets it. Funding source comes out of whether it's state funds, it's federal funds. That's federal funds.
Before I call for a motion, David, I'm going to depend on you, and Chief, I'm going to depend on you to get with the fire chief and brief him on this, because this is going to be really important to him with the new location of the fire station. It's going to be real important, because if he goes barreling through there, he needs to know what we're doing here today. With that being said, is there a motion that we support the installation of an all-way stop at May Boulevard and Corporate Way?
I'm not running for re-election, so I'll make a motion, we approve the installation of the all-way stop at the intersection of May Boulevard and Corporate Way.
Commissioner Dixon has declared he is not seeking re-election and made a motion that we accept this. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
I'd like to say smart move.
Any opposed? Good luck with this. And I do hope that some of the questions that our citizens will have, because I assure you, this will be a topic for quite some time until we get there. And I wish you luck with that. Okay? That brings us down. Thank you, Steve. Resolution authorizing ARPA grant service agreement with the North Carolina League of Municipalities. David, I believe this one is yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. Board. Got a lot of paper here, but I hope this will be seek grant possibilities, federal and state grants, and make the application, and if successful, if accepted, screen services can total about $30,000. So, apply for approval, there is no match requirement for select board. That's how things feel. 30 some odd years ago, things. And so, I recommend pass this resolution basically, it's a new program, it's using ARPA funds, it's federal funding, new federal money, we get to quickly drive what types of grants we're interested in. That's all.
Any questions of the town manager? Any questions for the town manager? Seeing none, is there a motion that we approve the resolution authorizing participation in the North Carolina League of Municipalities grant program?
I will make a motion authorizing our participation in the ARPA Grant Services Agreement.
Board, you've heard the motion by Commissioner Smith. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. That brings us down to citizen presentation. AC, let me apologize to you because in that first part, it was not listed, and I'm an old dog. I follow the list as it's presented, so please come down and make yourself at home. Mr. Stowe, thank you for coming by, sir.
Something that has hurt my heart that I've witnessed is that we have a societal feel right now that is even here in our little town of Farmville. We have people of various age groups living in cars, and I witnessed young people having to sit on benches with over a table sleeping overnight. Now, we should not be doing anything punitive to them because they cannot help this situation. However, in a place as small as Farmville, we shouldn't have it so that we have people who have to experience these type of situations. I know that we'd like to build high-end housing and attract people with means, and that's nice, but we really need to take care of the young people because it hurts my heart to see young people sleeping outside over a bench or over a table, and people sleeping in cars. I think we can do better than this.
Thank you. I'll continue on. Anyone else having a question about anything you've heard here tonight? Any questions? Anybody having anything they'd like to contribute? Seeing none, with that being said, Dr. Hobbs, I will start with you in closing comments.
Thank you very much. In addition to all the nice things that's happening in Farmville, I'm very excited and pleased to know that Pitt Community College is expanding their resources to Farmville in the education and economic development area. I think that's going to be a very, very big plus for Farmville. I just want to thank them for that.
Mr. Dixon?
We do, the town provide, I say a lot of times our job is to create an environment that other people can do good things in, and we do that. The town itself does a lot. It's Recreation Month. Diane's done a great job. We have been working a lot on streets and utilities, and Farmville's cleaning up. But really tonight is a great example of how we work with other groups to create a good environment. We are truly partners, and we're partners to volunteers like Nicole, who was here earlier. We're partners with the local schools. We're gonna work with them on their safety initiative. We partner with Pitt Community College in a major way. I mean, we are gonna do a lot for them, and they're gonna do a lot for us. We partnered tonight again with Alliance One and GFL to make Farmville better. We partnered with the state, our friend Mr. Hamilton, who was here from DOT, to make Farmville better, and we partnered with the federal government. We've been very fortunate to receive a lot of ARPA funds. And Farmville, this board, and I jokingly say I'm not running for re-election, but you guys are fantastic, and Brenda was fantastic, and Mr. Hodgkins is as well, and tonight just really kind of exemplifies that to me. So thank you and good job.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Shack?
I think we've done a great job being a small town, and we're just happy about being around people that, use the services that we offer for them, and we try to make sure that everybody is equally, that is equally spread along the way. So we won't leave anybody out.
Thanks, sir. Mr. Smith?
No, I agree with what everybody said. I think Farmville is a great little town. We're not perfect. We can always do a better job. There's always things that we need to look at, need to consider, and I think this board is open to that. I do think it's very exciting that Pitt Communities College is coming in. We're very appreciative of everything, Mr. Purcell, that you did to expedite and help that along. It means a lot to our community. But I think this board has done a good job, and the employees have done a good job. We're not perfect, but we're a lot better than second place.
Thank you, sir. I'm glad y'all made the good comments about the board, because, David, I'm going to ask you to present to this board. We evaluated you, and now it's time for you to give us a report card on what we said we were going to do in the retreat 6 months ago. And I'm looking forward to see where we are on a scale of 1 to 10 in the August meeting. And in case something has fallen and we have not addressed it, we need to. AC, thank you for your words tonight about those young people. And I'm not sure exactly how we will approach that, but I promise you faithfully, it will not go unattended, and I'll be meeting with the chief and others in town and see if we can't figure out a way to fix that. I promise you that. Thanks, Pitt Community College, for what you're doing. The town is clean. I got a call today from a near town. Said he was over here on a fact-finding mission and said, never seen a town so clean. So, Wes, I thank you for that. David on report. David and I and Paul will be meeting with some folks over the next few days concerning the housing in Farmville. And AC, I can't tell you today that I may have some answers for you coming out of that meeting, but I assure you tomorrow at 1 o'clock, those questions will be asked. And I'll see you at the post office or somewhere, and I'll let you know if we're making any headway. And we'll know more about that tomorrow. And don't forget, July 3rd, we celebrate with fireworks on the town common. It's a great event, and it's a place where thousands of people come to our little hometown. Diane, we're going to miss you. Good luck. And you've done an incredible job with our recreation department, and we certainly do appreciate that. And I thank this board for showing our true effort of what this town is about and how we support our schools. We'll meet again in August. I'm accessible. I look forward to talking to you if you need me for anything. After our meeting tomorrow, I'll report back to each and every one of you in my Friday report. And with all that being said, is there a motion we adjourn?
Motion we adjourn.
Commissioner Dixon has made a motion we adjourn. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Let's go home.